Adolf decided to sneak a copy of the new flag into a gay bar in München to show his friends on the 9th of November, 1923, so he could share it with them before anything public to announce and reveal it had been planned. He went in, held it up to show them whilst they took some casual photographs, explained what it meant and where he came up with it, and that it was already official and they would see it around in the future. He even described it as a little boring himself. They draped it over a bus stool and bought him a celebratory drink in the biggest stein available. They were getting towards innuendo about it when Adolf started wondering if he should be careful about not getting too drunk if sex was suggested at some point. Just as he thought it, a bunch of disheveled-looking people dressed in men's clothing burst in from slightly behind him and started firing bullets at the men he was drinking with. In hindsight, a clear attempt to traumatize him to phase him out. His friends hunched over and blood spurted out of them, spraying everywhere including all over the flag draped on the bus stool. Whilst he was staring in shock, he was grabbed from behind and dragged backwards out of the bar. They accused him of being responsible for the shooting and carrying a gun into the bar. He saw cloth being ripped into strips and men trying to put pressure on bullet wounds as they took him away. He was taken to an empty, partially condemned jail at Landsberg. He was told he was being detained for the shooting and was under investigation, even though they did not say anything that sounded like he was officially arrested. He spent 13 months in the empty jail as the only inmate. They fed him, cleaned his cell, washed his clothes, allowed him to bathe, and gave him paper and writing implements. There was no radio or anything else. He started writing down his life experiences to work through some themes whilst they waited to see if he phased out and became unresponsive. They even supplied him with what they termed were small treats, like beer. The treats were all items being consumed in the bar during the shooting incident, though. After 13 months in the jail, they came back to him and told him he would be released without charge and had been cleared of any wrongdoing. They then stated they would return his personal belongings. They pushed everything confiscated off him during the raid to him over the table. It included the blood-stained flag which became known as the Blutfahne. It had been recovered from the bar after the incident. It had spent 12 months in an airtight police evidence bag. It had then been washed once in a washing machine and dried on a clothesline. They pushed the folded flag across the table at him with the blood stains towards him and stared at him, waiting to see if he had a breakdown. He was outraged and immediately raised his voice. He demanded compensation for wrongful imprisonment, wrongful arrest, and damages. He also demanded treason and other criminal charges be laid. After legal negotiations, he eventually received 1.3 million Deutschmarks compensation for wrongful imprisonment and wrongful arrest. He agreed not to press charges against the people who released him, who vowed to hold the perpetrators of the incident and his unofficial arrest accountable for their actions. That attitude was the theme of all lunatics' behavior to him afterwards. All they ever really did was try to traumatize him to see if he had a nervous breakdown and regressed back to what he was like after he was admitted to a post-traumatic stress disorder hospital for military personnel who were extremely seriously wounded during World War I. After his release, his friends expressed their enormous and genuine relief he was safe and well. They also quickly informed him there was an attempt at a violent coup against the German government whilst he was missing. It had failed, with order restored, weeks before he was released. He missed the whole thing. He immediately organized memorials for the victims, including his gay friends, and a memorial march held every year on the date he was abducted from the gay bar. He finished his book at home with the Blutfahne near him at all times and gave it the name Mein Kampf, meaning My Struggles in English. The original text was self-published and almost completely unrecognizable from the adulterated offensive text available today. The adulterated version is without any references to my Hohenzollern royal family in it at all removed by lunatics, including in reference to Wilhelm II. Large parts of the adulterated version were personally rewritten by Einstein himself when Kaiser Adolf was in prisoner of war jail. An attempt to turn respectful references to religion and sexuality into something that sounded more like an evil Einstein campaign of hatred and vilification. I still own the copyright and related earnings from sales, regardless of who added fictional content to the text and deleted original paragraphs. They are not owed a cut, rather charges of plagiarism for attempting to claim earnings from book sales with adulterated text. Whenever he seemed relaxed, intelligent, and together, they occasionally shot at him, at something near him, let off firecrackers, detonated explosives, planted bombs near him and set them off, sprayed him with blood-colored fluid, covered themselves in smells of combat and females, and joked about doing to him what was done to the Romanovs and Habsburgs, just to see if he glazed over and stopped being responsive. Below is an image of then Prince Imperial Adolf explaining what happened after the München beer hall incident in November 1923. He had been detained illegally in Landsberg Prison without charge as the only inmate, and was listed as missing for 13 months. The audience for the 1925 event was slightly horrified at his mental state during the event. He stuttered, mumbled, sweated, and was barely able to keep upright due to his WW1 wounds. He had not spoken to small public crowds since before his conscription during WW1. He was wounded, shot, on 12 separate occasions in his life. Each time they waited to see if he had a breakdown to a traumatized silent stare. He was wounded at a filmed-in-venue practice session for an official speech after he went into politics. It is a popular video on YouTube because they think he looked really weird. His official speeches in formal dress are not readily available to the public. He always rehearsed his speeches at the venue he was to deliver them in, wearing more casual clothing, with it filmed and recorded to review before the live speech. His motivation was to find out what people were going to try to force him to do, say, or gesture during his speech that he felt was inappropriate. He always let people know he was having a rehearsal beforehand. Unstable types always tried to make him practice what they would have liked to see and hear, and he always filtered it out before the live speech was delivered. The speeches people can watch on media like YouTube are the rehearsals, where some of the things he said and did were a little strange during the filtering process, not the final product. If the video looks like the final product, the audio is from a very casual rehearsal, or completely fake. He was actually a very relaxed and rehearsed public speaker, and wore formal attire often for his speeches after he was elected as Chancellor. His election campaign speeches for the 1933 election were more casually rehearsed, but still rehearsed. The final occasion he was shot was after he escaped prisoner of war jail and took diplomatic asylum in Italy. He reacted as if it was nothing unusual and took care of it himself, with a fiddlesticks sort of response, but with swearing. It horrified people around him in the 1960s.